Alright, what is up guys, Nate4 here and welcome to the Hellfire Hades Attacks the 1980s Kill Count video. And I just want to say a few things before we kick this thing off. One, I don't take credit for the kill count idea. That completely belongs to James A. Janice. So definitely go and check out his channel if you enjoy horror movies. I'll link it in the description below. Two, drop a like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, share it. It helps me out a ton and I would appreciate it. And three, if you want to watch the official Hellfire Hades full movie, if you want to watch the trailer, if you want to listen to the soundtrack and blooper reel coming soon, you can go and look at it over on Will's channel. I'll plug it here in this video. He does good work. Go show him some love. You know, he's the creator of the film. He directed it. You know, good man. So yeah, we're making this video. We're going to be counting all the kills and it should be a good time. But I've done enough rambling, so let's get to the kills. The movie begins in Hades Woods when we're introduced to our first character, the groundskeeper, played wonderfully by Mr. Clapp, good man. And it's just another day in the office for him, nothing too special, just another walk in the park pretty much. But he's got his maintenance works to do, chopping down trees, raking leaves, just making sure everything's nice and tidy. So he's earned himself a nice smoke break because he can smoke his stogie anywhere. He doesn't have to find a hideout place like you.
I smoke my stogie anywhere I want. I don't have to find a hideout place like you.
Unfortunately, his smoke break is cut a little short when he hears someone or something in the woods, and his reaction is absolutely priceless. He sells every single line in this movie and he's just wonderful, so huge shout out to him. But then we're greeted to an amazing, cool 80s neon title card, and it is cool and I love it. It takes my breath away every single time. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the story only gets better from here? Alright, we get introduced to our four main characters entering Hades Woods. You got Chad, the quarterback, you got Cherry, the cheerleader, you got Eddie, the pothead, and you got Mary, the virgin, pure of heart, the responsible one of the group. But they all want to go out and have a good time before they all go off to separate colleges. So they plan a trip to go out to Hades Woods, and you know, they have an interesting plan for tonight. Eddie informs them that he has a book that can summon a demon, and they're all interested and intrigued by it. So they all go further into Hades Woods, where they meet up with none other than the groundskeeper, who is very much still alive, who tells them to leave now, but I don't know, they're kind of hesitant, and we get my worst line. Diggity. Let's bounce, guys. Now with that sickening, just disgusting, just unacceptable, just repulsive line out of the way, the four teens make their way past the groundskeeper. Okay, they ignore his warnings, they don't listen to him, they just walk right past him. But as the sun sets and the moon awakens, the four teens make their way to the campsite. They set up the tents, they set up the chairs, and they set up the campfire. It's a good time, all right, but it's that time, the thing that they've been waiting on, the whole reason of this entire trip, really. Their time to summon the Slayer of Saints himself, and it's Eddie's time to shine. So hopefully he doesn't fumble the bag just like how he forgot the s'mores. But yeah, they get the Book of Hades and it's about to go down. With Eddie leading the pack at the moment, Chad, Mary, and Cherry all arise and make contact with each other, getting ready to say the spell to summon Hellfire Hades himself. But when nothing happens right away, they all just kind of assume that it's a bit of a dud. So they all, you know, they're kind of tired. Now they're kind of just let down, and they decide to pretty much call it a night. So Eddie, he goes back to his old smoking ways, nothing new. Whereas Cherry and Chad decide to go in the tent and spend some quality time together. So that's where we get left with Mary, who's kind of, like I said, the responsible one. The one who doesn't, you know, do much. She doesn't smoke, she doesn't have sex, anything like that. So she decides to call it a night. So we get a nice shot with Cherry and Chad in the tent, very intimate hand-holding scene, which I don't know. Will was making a different kind of movie at this point, but it's very entertaining, and it's weird to say this, but this is actually one of the more crucial shots in the film. Thank you for holding my hand, Cherry. All's going good and well with Eddie up until he remembers that his personal belongings are in the tent where Chad and Cherry are having a very aggressive and very intimate hand-holding session. And Mary's not getting much sleep due to Chad and Cherry's noises, but she also hears another strange noise in the distance. So she goes on a whole detective explorer type thing. I don't know, Dora the Explorer, Batman, Nancy Drew, Sherlock Holmes. I don't know, whatever you prefer. But I wonder if this made any of the viewers mad, because if you hear a strange noise, you go the opposite direction. All right, but things don't exactly go Mary's way when she bumps into the Slayer of Saints himself, Hellfire Hades, and this was actually a pretty cool kill, man. It turned out a lot better than I thought it would, but we get our first death of the movie. Mary has to go. And fun fact, I actually had the honor of wearing the Hades mask for the death of Mary, and wearing that mask for a certain period of time, it's not fun. So huge shout out to Mr. Clapp. He did a great job, and I could only imagine what he went through. Soon after the demise of Mary, Cherry decides that something feels wrong. Something feels off. Something just isn't quite right now. And they exit the tent, where Chad is a little upset because he feels blue-balled. He wants to go and finish what they started in the tent. So Cherry asks Eddie if he's seen anything. He says he might have heard something that sounded like a scream, but Chad just pretty much assumes that he's high, he's tripping, he's a weirdo. And they search the tent for Mary, but she's not in there. So now the rest of the teens gotta go on a search party and go look for Mary, make sure she's safe, and make sure just everything's alright. So they venture off into the woods for a bit in hopes to go find their friend Mary. The remaining 3 teens venture further into Hades Woods in hopes of finding their friend Mary. But eventually they keep walking forward and they smell something burnt, a strange aroma, until they finally see that it's a dead corpse that has Mary's necklace and her dress on it, and they finally come across her burnt corpse, and they finally realize that Hades is real. What's happening is actually legit. It's no longer a joke. It's no longer a rumor or anything like that. It's actually happening. This isn't a prank. So Chad, he's very angry at Eddie. He says, hey man, I thought this was a joke, man. I thought the whole thing was like just for fun or just for kicks. And Eddie, he's had enough, all right? He can't believe what just happened. He ventures off all by himself, leaving Chad and Cherry all by themselves, until they hear a scream off into the woods as soon as Eddie goes off by himself. So they decide, you know what? He's made his choice. We have to go. We have to survive. Okay, we have to go on. We have to survive through the night. We have to stick together. But we'll see how that goes for them. After seeing Mary's burnt body and after hearing Eddie scream off into the distance of the woods and everything like that, Chad and Cherry, they feel very lost. They feel very afraid, confused. They can't believe what's happening is actually real. But they go back at it for a little back and forth until Cherry comes up with an idea that Eddie's book, the Book of Hades, maybe if they used it to summon Hellfire, they can actually reverse the spell and send him back to wherever he came from. So the two, Chad and Cherry, they exit the tent and try to find a spell to send Hellfire back to wherever he came from. So Chad and Cherry, they hold hands once again, and they start reciting the spell until they realize that it's not going to be that simple. They can't do it like that. They have to actually be right up on Hellfire himself, seeing him in person for the spell to be successful. And it just makes them feel even more discouraged, especially Chad. He doesn't really want to go head to head with Hellfire. He wants to just try to run away, but Cherry's able to, hype him up, make him feel good about himself, saying, if you're able to vanquish a demon, then everyone will remember you. So that's enough motivation for Chad to keep going and try to avenge his friends. So both Chad and Cherry venture back into the woods in hopes of finding Hellfire Hades and returning him back from wherever he came from. But unfortunately, things won't be that simple, as they hear a slight noise in the bushes right beside them, and it's none other than Unsteady Eddie returns. All right, we thought he was dead, but plot twist, he's not. He's back. And why was he hiding? Why did he pretend to be gone? Truth is, he wasn't who he said he was. Okay, he was a bad person. He did this all. He set this up. I mean, come on, Eddie. Not cool. as Eddie tries to be Billy Loomis. Hellfire Hades returns out of nowhere to absolutely violate and strangle Eddie, okay? And Cherry and Chad, they're both afraid. They see him in person, but they don't have the spell anymore, so they have to run. They have to get out of there as Eddie is still being strangled. And he, it's a sad time, man. You kind of feel a little bit of sympathy for him, but he had to go. I'm sorry, he had to. After seeing Eddie being taken down by Hellfire Hades, Chad and Cherry, they begin to run through the woods as fast as they possibly can to get to the edge, just so they can escape, but they need a second to catch their breath, to collect their thoughts, and they believe if they can just get past the barbed wire, they'll be home free. But it doesn't really work out that way for them, as Hellfire Hades returns with supernatural speed, and Chad and Cherry, they're beginning to panic again. They don't know what to do, and they're running out of resources up until Chad remembers that he has steroids on him. He uses it for all his games at Southfield High, and Cherry calls him a fraud for it, but it's their last resort. He needs it, and it's their last hopes at survival. So Chad, he sacrifices himself to give Cherry an opportunity to escape. So Chad injects himself with the steroids, hoping that it will make him Superman. It'll make him invincible. It'll make him the real king of Southfield High. And huge shout out to Will and Bethany for editing this scene. It turned out really good, actually. Although my throat was very sore, I'm proud of it. So Chad charges as fast as he can, just punching, just lots of lefts and rights and lefts and rights and straight hooks. And obviously he took a little inspiration from Jason Takes Manhattan. But we both had pretty much the same exact outcome, because both of us, we failed at the end. All right, we failed at the end. We gave him a run for his money, maybe just a little bit, maybe like 1%. But Hellfire Hades, he finally fights back a bit, and not laughing at me anymore. He punches through my chest and he takes Chad's heart out. Okay, Chad he's done for. Okay, he did his best, and sometimes that's all you can ask for, right? But Chad is finally out of there, up to his final breath. But at least the blood tasted good. With Chad out of the picture, we're left to one last survivor, the lone wolf, the final girl, Cherry. And when she sees headlights coming down the road, she assumes it's a random person, thinking that they can help her get her out of the woods, save her life, and get her out of this entire situation. And then we get my favorite shot in the entire movie. Absolutely love it. Simply iconic in my opinion. But as soon as the door opens, which that car wasn't even made in the 1980s, but it's perfectly fine. It's still really, really cool. It's none other than Hellfire Hades himself, all right? And Cherry is left all alone, defenseless, against the Slayer of Saints himself. But can she escape? Can she do something? Nope. His power is too overwhelming, and Cherry's head is popped. Good play on words, though. Good play on words. But you're wondering why I didn't count that kill yet. Well, you got to keep watching and find out. You will get your answers in a few seconds. But Cherry is still alive in the woods. Did she pass out, hit her head? Did she fall asleep? Who knows, man? Who knows? You got to watch the full movie and find out. But that was a fake out death. Cherry is still alive. And, you get a sense of relief. Everyone likes Cherry, and she's still alive for now. But unfortunately for Cherry, as soon as she gets her thoughts together, as soon as she finds herself collected, she gets killed off in her actual death. And it looks really good, actually, in my opinion. And it's very creative, man. I think it's a good death scene. But that's a wrap for everyone. GG's. But yeah, we got to get to the numbers. Now, you could argue that there's 5 deaths, but the first one from Cherry was a bit of a fake out, so we got 4 together, 2 guys, 2 girls. With a runtime of 41 minutes, we got 4 kills in total, so that would be 1 kill about every 10.25 minutes. And the coolest kill award I'm going to give to Cherry, I think it looks really good and it's very, very inventive. And the Bummer Summer Award for the weakest would go to Eddie. Not because it's bad, but it wasn't the kill that was imagined. We had to change it due to safety reasons and time constraints. So that's the only reason why I think it's simply the weakest, but I still like it a lot. And huge shout out to Stort, who provided the music and everything like that himself. Really good job. And another shout out to Kat, who provided the cartoon animations. Really good job from everyone who was involved in the cast and the crew. Austin as well, who was the mic guy. Everyone did a really good job. And huge shout out to me and Will, who were able to get the movie in the theater. So that was pretty cool. So really good job by everyone.